This is the Cubs Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Chicago Cubs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Cubs Postcast here on the Locked On Cubs YouTube channel. The Cubs win 10-6 over the Texas Rangers. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So, the Cubs lineup, they have scored 7 or more runs in 7 of the last 8 games. They are on a heater to start the season. This lineup is just good. The lineup's good. We're going to talk about the lineup, taking advantage of the Rangers' miscues. Really, obviously, there in the 8th inning was a disaster for the Rangers, but good teams take advantage, so we'll talk about that. The up and down pitching performances I think we saw from the Cubs today, and we're going to talk a little bit at the end of the show about Nico Hoerner, who started the game off with a big play, also had a clutch hit in this game, but the Cubs are clutch today. The bullpen blows it. Merryweather, Porter Hodge, it looks like they're actually not calling an error on Tucker on that play. I would deem it an error, but I know Wrigley Field near that wall is tough, but they're not going to give him one, it looks like, at least according to the ESPN box score. But Porter Hodge gives up the tying run, but then the lineup comes through in the 8th inning. They score 4 runs. You get two RBI singles, one from Dansby Swanson, one from Crow-Armstrong, and that's what you need when your bullpen's going to blow this game like it did. And look, you get this, you salvage what you can at this point. Like, it's not going to be an easy win every single night, but when you're scoring, again, 7 or more runs in 7 of the last 8 games, you can easily win baseball games. You can overcome what happens from your bullpen. And again, you take advantage of the errors that were happening. Let's talk about that 8th inning, because after the Cubs, it's tied 6-6. Here's what happens in the 8th. So Ian Happ makes good contact. It's pretty close to the warning track, but it's not. It's a possible catch, but the wind, I don't know if Tavares just totally misreads it, but he runs right past the ball. And Ian Happ gets to second base. Seiya strikes out, so you got 1 out in the inning. Kyle Tucker walks. Here comes John Birdie. Birdie hits the grounder to third base. It bounces right off him, and you got bases loaded. Then Dansby Swanson gets the 2 RBI single. All of a sudden, it's 8-6 Cubs, and then Crow-Armstrong, lefty on lefty there, gets a 2 RBI single of his own. It's 10-6. Yes, he gets thrown out in a little rundown there. Whatever. Not going to complain. He got the 2 RBI single there and put the Cubs up 10-6, making all Cubs fans feel a little bit easier as Ryan Pressly comes to the mound in the 9th inning. Yes, he gives up a hit. They have the longest challenge of all time. Now, look, I'm not going to complain about this one, but I'm going to give you my take on challenges, okay? They overturned it, which New York, as they pointed out on the broadcast, if you were listening to the TV broadcast, was that New York can put different camera angles together that are more conclusive than what Marquee can. So that's why they say he's safe. I do have a general rule, though, and it didn't hurt the Cubs this time. If it takes that long to rule a challenge, it's slowing the game down way too much. That's a tough one. Rule them safe. Now, normally, but again, it helped the Cubs today, so I'm not going to complain in this one. But the Rangers, they gave you these opportunities there in the 8th, where whether it's the wind or the cold or just being, not great defensively so far in the season, you took advantage. And I think that is something that, for me, it does define a good baseball team. There's a couple things to me that define a good baseball team. One is what you do with runners, with 2 outs, with runners on base, and how often you're bringing those guys in. That's one box to check. The other one is when a team's going to make miscues like that, is how you take advantage. And then on the flip side is if you make the miscues, is how you get out of it. Those are, to me, what makes a good baseball team. Even after Tucker, I think could have caught that, and I think will catch that later on once he's more used to Wrigley Field. Not letting that, inning totally implode by Hodge, is very important for him. And, look, I know they're giving it the earned run there. I know some people in the chat already disagree with me on that. That's fine. But he did strike out 3 guys, and he came in, to barrel out Merryweather with 2 outs the inning before. So that's the other thing I like about what we're seeing from Porter Hodge so far, whether it's now or eventually in the closer role, because I do think that still eventually happens at some point in this season. But being able to come in, get the guy out, and then come back out and get the next 3 outs. Yes, he gave up 1 run, but he was able to largely get the job done there. Is another thing that to me is important, because that fastball is electric. It's touching 95, 96 probably even 97 in today's game. So Hodge is just giving you everything that you wanted to. So again, the lineup was very good in this game. And it starts off right away, again, from Dansby Swanson, who hit his 4th home run of the season. I know he's hitting, 226 on the year. That's that 2 RBI single there in the 8th inning, brought up to 226. So yeah, it's a low batting average, but the torpedo bats does seem to be working for him. And I don't know if it's a confidence thing. I don't know if it's something that you have to see, it just makes you feel better, or if the torpedo bat's just actually working for Dansby Swanson. But 4 home runs, especially on a night like tonight where it's freezing cold. We saw Kyle Tucker thought he had another one in this game. The Cubs fans there, I think every time he hits the ball into the air, it's gone, was something I noticed on the broadcast. A lot of cheers every time the ball goes up into the sky. But the early returns for Dansby Swanson, yes, the average is not there, and he goes 0 for in yesterday's game, I believe. It's just adding to this lineup, to the depth of it, and I think it's a big reason why. It's just this team has been so successful from top to bottom, with Dansby really getting this thing going. So we'll talk about all that. We'll take your guys' comments. We'll continue talking about today's game. Let's talk about Jameson Taillon here a little bit. So not the best day, not the worst either. This is a quality start. 6 innings pitched, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 walk. That's important. 6 strikeouts. So again, the Cubs win a baseball game in which they walk less than 3 guys in these recent couple days. So he was fine in this game. And this is kind of the outing I think you expect to see from Jameson Taillon. If you're expecting more from him, I don't know what to tell you. I think this is kind of the outing that he is, good. It's good enough. Yeah, Tim says right here in the chat. Totally agree. Taillon was good enough. No complaints. You're right. No complaints for me in this game. Struck out 6. He didn't have major damage, especially when you look at what happened early on in this game. So Nico, right away in the second, gets the nice diving stop, which ends up bringing a pretty big play, honestly, when you look at the totality of the game. All of a sudden, bases are loaded. Jonah Heim gets a 2 RBI single. That puts the Rangers up 2-0 in the top of the second, but no more damage. That's important. You have bases loaded. You find a way to make sure it's not a total disaster, and that's where, again, Taillon, good enough in this game. Excellent, no. Good enough, yes, and it helps the Cubs get the victory. All right, we'll talk more about the bullpen, other guys we saw in the lineup, and again, talk a little bit about Nico Hoerner and what he's been doing for the Cubs so far. All that coming up next year on the Locked On Cubs postcast on the Locked On Cubs YouTube channel. Today's show brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are almost here. The Bulls will be in it. And FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. FanDuel makes it easy, whether you're looking at the total, you're looking at the line itself, or you want to look at prop bets like 3-pointers or things like that. I love looking at the Modest Buzella stuff every single Bulls game, as well as Nikola Vucevic. Like to get those double-double odds and things like that from FanDuel. Right now, don't miss out and head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets. Today's show also brought to you by Just Ingredients. When it comes to fueling your body, quality matters, and that's why Just Ingredients is changing the game with clean, high-quality products designed to support better health and peak performance. Just Ingredients offers an NSF-certified line of protein powder, electrolyte, and pre-workouts, and creatine, all rigorously tested to ensure that they're free from substances banned by major athletic organizations. Just Ingredients has also partnered with 2-time MVP Bryce Harper, who trusts their NSF-certified sports line to fuel his training and recovery. You go to the gym, you work out hard, especially if you work out with a personal trainer. I just started doing that recently. It's a killer. The next day, you need things to help you get through the next day and just get your body feeling right. You can visit justingredients.us and use code LOCKEDONMLB for 20% off. And for more wellness tips, follow at just.ingredients on Instagram. All right, quick note here for the 300 plus of you that are watching live. Shout out to you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. Sam is also going to be going live tonight here on the channel pretty much as soon as this show wraps up. So I have 2 live shows, so make sure you stick around here on Locked On Cubs and go over to Sam's video as well and hang out with him and talk about tonight's win for the Cubs over the Rangers. And before we get any farther in today's show, let's get to our Locked On Player of the Game.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
It's Dansby Swanson here. Very easily, Dansby Swanson, locked on player of the game. 2 for 4 with the home run. His fourth of the season. 4 RBIs on the night. Also had a very nice play there at shortstop in the ninth inning to get the runner at second base. That was a nice play by Dansby. That's what's as advertised for his defense in this one. Don't think it's even a question of who else it could be in this game. All right, so before we get back in today's game, just want to quickly talk about Nico Hoerner, and because I feel like during these postcast shows, he's kind of been unmentioned so far. That's on me. That's my bad. But started the game. The diving play that he has in the second inning was a great defensive play. We've seen him doing a lot of things very well. The jump throw has been big in his arsenal this year. Every time he does it, they talk about his elbow injury. And that clearly is not an issue for him when he's making that throw to first base. But he's been very, very good defensively so far this season. He's also been great on the base paths so far this season. And his batting average has been awesome. Nico Hoerner has been fantastic for the Cubs to start the season. There's something about second basemen that just, they've always been, like, I wasn't like a good baseball player. I barely even played baseball like much of my life, but I love second basemen. One of my favorite baseball players, not sure about the person anymore, but Mark Grudzielanek was like my number one guy growing up. I loved Grudsy. He was one of my favorite players, one of my first Cubs jerseys I ever owned. I've just always loved Cubs second baseman, like no matter who's out there, but Nico has been really good for the Cubs this year. And I like where he's at in the order and the way that this team has kind of fit him into the lineup. I see a couple people here in the chat. Rhinos before my time. Sorry, I know that's going to offend some people. Nico is a dog here from Craig in the chat. Some people, Kevin wants him to bat leadoff, move Hap to sixth. I'm going to tell you what, strongly disagree with that. Strongly. And here's why. Again, 7 of the last 8 games, the Cubs have scored 7 or more runs. You don't change what's working. If it ain't broke, don't try to fix it. And that's with Nico, where he's at in the lineup right now. It's worked out well from him. I don't know if they're taking pressure off of him by having him lower in the order, but he's been good at driving guys in, and him and Pete Crow-Armstrong also are starting that thing where they're on base for the top of your order. They're on base for Hap and Suzuki and Tucker. So those guys, like I like having Nico where he's at in the lineup, and so far it's been working really well for them. So I really think, just want to give a shout out to what Nico Hoerner has done so far this season, because it feels like he is the kind of, one guy not talked about as much, because so much of the attention has been on Kyle Tucker so far this season. He's just been fantastic for the Chicago Cubs. All right, let's get to our turning point of tonight's game.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
All right, so obviously this one's pretty simple here, but having guys on base in the bottom of the 8th inning, Dansby Swanson, him again, the 2 RBI single that makes it 8-6 is very huge there. Also, if you do want to look back here to the bottom of the 5th inning here, also is important, where Suzuki and Tucker both get singles. So you got first and second, no outs. Justin Turner gets walked. You have bases loaded. Dansby Swanson gets his sac fly, and the runners move to second and third on one of the many defensive miscues from the Rangers. That's really the first one of the night where you can tell the Rangers are just not thinking, it feels like, when they're playing defense out there. They have their first defensive miscue of the night there. It's 4-3, and then Nico also, that's where he comes in with his 2 RBI single to put the Cubs up 6-3. Again, also with this lineup that I really like is when you're talking about a team that's good offensively, is not just the fact that you're driving in runs, it's how you're driving in runs is important. So Swanson gets the homer, but you look at the rest of their RBIs in this game. It's a Seiya Suzuki 2 RBI single. It's the Nico Hoerner 2 RBI single, Dansby Swanson 2 RBI single, Dansby Swanson sac fly, Pete Crow-Armstrong single that brings in 2. They're just moving guys over and not having to rely on the long ball, I think is, it's funny. I'm sure Sam's going to mention this if you missed it. Sam is tracking like the plus and minus home runs from Wrigley Field, like what the wind and what Wrigley is taking away from Cubs players this year at home, which is a very funny and tedious thing to do. I couldn't do that, but Sam's doing it. So I think that's a very funny thing that he's doing. But how do you avoid that? How do you make that not a problem for the Cubs lineup this year? I think it's really simple. It's just trying to drive guys in through moving them from base to base. And that's what we're seeing so far in this lineup. And a huge reason, really the reason why the Cubs are scoring all these runs is they're manufacturing them. And that again goes back to drawing the walks, having good at-bats, stealing bases, moving guys constantly. They're just playing at an elite level of offense so far in the season, and the Cubs lineup is good. There's no other way to put it. The lineup is good. That's the reality of what this team is. The lineup is very, very good. I did see a funny comment in here. I'm dealing with this too. I hate the blackout restrictions in Major League Baseball. I'm also blacked out of watching these games, so I found a different way to watch them from MLB TV currently. So if you need help, find me on Twitter at JoeGeorgeRadio. I'll send you the link to help out any Cubs fans that are in need for this one. All right, before we wrap up and get out of here so Sam can go live on the channel, let's get to what you'll be talking about after this game.
This is what you'll be talking about.
The Cubs lineup is good. Again, that's what you're going to be talking about after this game. It's how good the Cubs lineup has been consistently over the last 8 games. They're just constantly finding ways to get guys in. It's just been a lot of fun to watch these games. I am a traditionalist, and where a good pitching duel is fun to watch. I do thoroughly enjoy that, but I also like seeing the Cubs just smash people and score runs. And also what you'll be talking about, the Cubs have now won their 3rd straight series, which is very important because, yes, the Rangers are struggling. They have one of the worst batting averages in all of baseball, but they were well above 500 coming into this series. But you've now beaten the Padres, and you've now beaten another good team. You've won your last 3 series. That's important for the Chicago Cubs. And you're going to LA next here. So got to get these wins, and hopefully we'll be, ending this week's show on Sunday night after Sunday Night Baseball with a series victory over the Dodgers as well. All right, so that will do it for us. Remember, you can find me on Twitter at JoeGeorgeRadio. We are here after every single Cubs game, live for 15 to 20 minutes. And again, if you're here right now, Sam is going to be going live on the channel momentarily. So thanks for watching. We will talk to you tomorrow, yes, here after day games as well. So Cubs 121st pitch. We will be live probably about 4:30 as soon as that game wraps up. So thanks for watching. We will talk to you tomorrow. Peace.